Hi everybody, good afternoon. This is Jean here. Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for you. One of my last videos I was saying I wasn't feeling very well. A little bit better. Thank you so much for all your lovely messages. I had the beginnings of a cold and sniffles and just a little bit blah, but then we got the devastating, tragic, nightmarish news over the weekend of our dear friend Melissa, who died suddenly. Melissa was our secretary, my husband's secretary, over 20 years ago, and she was a very close friend of our family. And Jen's just a few years older than our Jen, who's Melissa was about 49 years old, leaves behind two beautiful children, teenage boys and her husband, and a large family. They live out in Colorado, but they were from the Pennsylvania area, and so there's a tremendous amount in our congregation and congregations wide here who are just in shock at Melissa's death, her sudden death. So I think that had a lot of impact on me. The stress hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It really did. It knocked me for a loop, as I said, and I just really was not feeling very well. But I'm hopefully getting over it. I don't have COVID or anything like that. I am working on my little quilt, my embroidered blocks quilt here. And as you can see in the background, I'm looking in the background, as you can see, I'm working on what's called an ice cream cone border. And I was using an actual template. This is the template that I've gotten. Let me take this out because of the shininess. This is, oh, look. Oh. Okay. I didn't see this. I've been using these I've been using these three templates. They're like Perspex templates. This is from, it's very shiny. This is Quilt in a Day ice cream cone border templates. This is a Eleanor Burns, her Quilt in a Day series. There's an example of a quilt from her book, which I've seen. I don't think I have it. Quilts from Elle's Attic. 43 by 43 inch quilt. So there's a pattern for this quilt here, and then these templates, these Perspex templates, create this border effect here with all of the scalloped edges. I've been using the template. I had taken everything out of the plastic. Seriously, I just saw this. The world we live in, right? It's a sticker. It's put on the outside of this plastic. Warning, cancer and reproductive harm. www.p65warnings.ca.gov. Cancer and reproductive harm. From what? From the packaging? From the templates? From the paper? What in the world is, why in the world is that sticker on something for quilting? I've never seen that. No joke. Look at that. Oh, crazy world we live in. And I'm in no mood to mess. Anyway. Please excuse me. I have come into my sewing room, and I was using these little templates here, as you can see. I'll put my camera down and show you some close-ups of how I did this. It looks complicated and hard. It's not. All I did was use a Scrappy method. The actual quilt that she's outlining, every cone is the same, and then she actually has, like I say, that quilt. And then you can make that quilt, and then the measurements, or the math. Yeah, I didn't do this. Calculating pieces needed. In this example, each side measures 31.5 divided by 3.5 equals 9 pair divided by 3. So there's math involved, obviously, when you're doing this angle thing. But you know me, when I was doing like a checkerboard border or something like that, I just make the seams smaller or larger and just make it fit. It's fine, as Maxwell would say. So that's what I have been doing. That's what I've been doing. I've been cutting out from my templates here, from my, my brain is fuzzy, you must excuse me. My B vintage from Lori Holt, my Riley Blake fat quarter, making it more scrappy, as you can see. It's not hard. What's going to be hard will be the binding on this quilt, because I have a million little scalloped edges. So obviously, I always use straight grain binding, as you know, even around my curved corners. But obviously, with so many scallops and so many curves, I'm going to be using a bias binding. And I suppose, as opposed to how I do it, usually sewing it to the back, turning it to the front, and machine stitching it, I have to do it like normal people and sew it to the front and then hand stitch it to the back. Oh, man alive. It's interesting. I've always been saying, I hate hand sewing, blah, blah, blah. And Maxwell pointed out to me, he's like, well, what are you talking about when you say you hate hand sewing? You made all of those hand embroideries and you really enjoyed it. I'm like, no. It's not like hemming a pant or sewing binding down. That's hand sewing. That to me is art. Making pretty little pictures with embroidery. But it is hand sewing. Isn't that funny? I'm using a needle and thread hand sewing. So I'll have to be hand sewing the binding. To make this border is very simple. Again, it'll just be the binding. So that will be my next thing. I just started cutting out pieces and just made it fit. And I have the video to show. I'll speed it up to show you how I did that. And it worked out. And I'm doing the red and white gingham in each corner. And that is this piece here. They're quite good, except if you use them, you're going to get cancer or reproductive harm. I'm over that. I had 10 kids. It has done me no reproductive harm. So, unbelievable. I just can't believe that. Somebody comment below. What does that mean? Has anybody ever seen that? Or maybe did somebody just stick that on there? Because I don't understand. Warning, big yellow warning sign, cancer and reproductive harm. Oh, the crazy, crazy people. What else is going on? Yeah, that's it. I'll be finishing that up. I then will figure out my backing, but then I have to actually quilt my quilt, because I want to do a fairly decent job, because I think I'm going to be trying to enter this into the quilt show that's coming up in September. But I was looking online, that's the Pennsylvania Quilting Extravaganza show that Jen and I and Maxwell and Ian will be going to, as we do every year. The deadline is the end of July, so I got to get my boots on and finish up. So I was thinking, how am I going to quilt it, because there's embroidered pieces. Do I like echo stitch that? And as you know, I quilt everything in white. I piece everything in white thread. I quilt everything in white. But I thought, I looked it up online, and here one lady I only found one article, and she said she used a 100-weight thread, which is a very like almost a silk thread, a very fine thread, to quilt actually around an embroidered image and even on top of it. So because you need to quilt, as you know, what am I going to say? You need to quote unquote consistent. You can't have unquilted pieces, because if it's a wall hanging, it's going to sag, it's going to drape, it's going to drag. Or you can't have a million pieces quilted very densely. That's going to shrink your quilt so much more. So I have to figure pardon me, please. I'm going to have to figure that out. Oh, I lost my voice. You'll be happy. I'm losing my voice. Oh, the stress of it all. I did want to come into my sewing room, and that was easy. It truly is. It was just a matter of chain piecing a bunch of stuff and sewing them. But then I gotta sandwich it. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna quilt it, and then do the binding. So I'll let you know, folks, as I go along. And I'm going to be finishing my snowflake quilt, which I also would like to enter into that quilt show. Well, then I realized I need to have, I was looking at the instructions, of course, because I have entered quilts and quilt shows. I need to have a sleeve, hanging sleeve, 4-inch hanging sleeve on the back. And on a rectangular or square quilt, I just put it before the binding and machine it on, and then just hand stitch one side down. But on my scalloped one, I guess I have to hand stitch the whole sleeve, top and bottom, because I can't tuck it into the binding, because the binding is all curves. I really don't like hand sewing. But I shouldn't say that, because a lot of people do. More power to you. But I will do it. Anyway, I'm going to have a rest now. This has exhausted me. I'm okay. It'll be fine, as Maxwell says. But anyway, so that's that. I hope you enjoy the little bits to come. I'm just going to fast forward some of it, how I did this, and take some pictures of my quilt so far. So anyway, folks, hug each other. You never know when your day will be the last day that you're on this planet Earth. Oh my word. Such stress, such tragedy, nightmare. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your kindness. And thank you for your love. All right, folks. Love from the Trueloves. Bye.